Lots of hot takes on Twitter about what's going to happen when the Senate gets together to count the Electoral College votes. In fact, the hottest of the hot takes is from none other than President Trump, who tweeted, "The vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors." Now, you remember a few episodes ago, the Pence nuclear option episode, we were talking about Trump loyalist claims around what Pence's powers were as a function of his being the president of the Senate. Mentioned plenary powers, the absolute power to choose to not open some envelopes from states that he believes got their votes fraudulently. Remember, they used the historical precedent of the election of 1800 to suggest that President Thomas Jefferson used his plenary power as president of the Senate at that time to win the election, which is inaccurate. We went over that in that episode. So if you haven't seen that episode, I invite you to check that one out. So in any case, most credible folks on Twitter are pushing back strongly, including folks like Representative Massey from Kentucky, who's rejecting the idea that Pence could walk in there and somehow use his power as president of the Senate to change the outcome or the count of the Electoral College. But this isn't stopping Trump from applying pressure. Last night on the dais in Dalton, Georgia, where he was to once again endorse Senators Loeffler and Perdue, he once again said in not very cryptic, very direct language about, we'll see what the vice president does. I'm a fan. I hope to stay a fan. I want to keep liking him, very Trumpian kind of not very subtle calls to action. So there was also a picture that Caitlin Collins just tweeted of the vice president showing up in the little alleyway between the EEOB and the West Wing, getting out of a car. And he had the look of a guy, and I tweeted this, he look of a guy about to be waterboarded, which a lot of folks, and I said, and I've seen a few, and I think a lot of people interpreted that to mean that I had conducted waterboarding, like I was a CIA guy or something in the wars. And no, what I mean is I went to SEER school when I was a naval aviator, and I've had a form of that done on me, and I will tell you it's actually torture. But in any case, that's kind of what Pence, his expression looked like a guy who's about to get the Klieg lights put on him. Now, the Dispatch just launched a new newsletter called Uphill, and I've contributed to the Dispatch a couple of times. It's another one of these fledgling, I wouldn't call this as much a never Trump outlet as the Bulwark, but it's some other folks like Steve Hayes who are from the Weekly Standard, sort of refugees from the Weekly Standard. So they just launched a new newsletter called Uphill, and it's authored mostly by a Hill veteran called Haley Bird Wilt, and she had an article in today's called "What to Expect When Congress Meets on Wednesday." So let's go over this so we can have some idea of what's going to happen, because you could say this is the most important day in the 21st century to date in terms of this heretofore pro forma evolution. So here's a few things that Haley's talking about. She said, during the joint session, states will be addressed in alphabetical order. Arizona will be the first. When an objection with support from a member of both chambers does arise, so imagine, for instance, Josh Hawley objects, well, he needs support from a member of both the Senate and the House of Representatives to have that move forward. But when it does arise, the House and Senate will separate for 2 hours of debate each. Okay, so you can start doing the math here. So at last count, we have somewhere between 12 and 14 lawmakers, GOP lawmakers, House and Senate, who have made the statement that they intend to object. So That gets us to 24 to 28 hours worth of debate so far. According to the rules, members will be permitted to speak just once during the debate and no longer than 5 minutes. After the debate, each chamber will vote. Objection will be successful only if both houses of Congress vote to agree to it by a simple majority. She also goes on to talk about how the coronavirus protocols are going to make this even longer in terms of the process. She points out that regular voting takes a while because members have to get from their offices to the floor to vote. And while the leaders have offices pretty close, and in fact, Nancy Pelosi's is right there, very adjacent to the rotunda in the Capitol building, the other members, more junior members, they're in those House and Senate office buildings, which are, a little ways away from the Senate floor or the House floor. So my niece, as a matter of fact, worked in the Longworth building, and she took us for a tour of the Dome, which is amazing, a separate episode. But it'll take you, even at a good clip, a good 15 minutes to get from your office to the floor. So, times that by 12, 14 votes, and you start adding up some time here. And then she points out that after each vote, they have to disinfect the chamber. Again, protocols associated with COVID are going to make this process longer. So, all in all, Haley anticipates that it won't finish until sometime Thursday. But all of this leaves out the Ted Cruz strategy that we talked about last episode. And in fact, my latest at the Bulwark just went live this morning, if you haven't seen this yet. And I love the photo that my editor, Adam, picked. It's perfect, right? Because I talk about how Hawley was first out of the gate and Cruz wasn't loving that. That's a great choice. Good job, Adam. So remember, in this, Cruz wants to create a special commission to meet for 10 days to hash out the same old rumor and innuendo and conspiracy theories about the election. So at what point he will do this move is unclear. Whether he just raises an objection and then puts something into motion in terms of, parliamentary procedure or however, but that he's going to use whatever time he's afforded to try to gum up the works even more than what Haley talks about in her article in this morning's Uphill newsletter. So this can delay, even if he doesn't get his wish of having this commission meet for 10 days, the process where he's going to make this demand is going to delay the process even more. So basically, we may not have the official count done this week. So it's going to be interesting. Let's stay tuned. And as always, thanks for your support of the channel here. Subscribe, share, like, comment, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.